The silence in the room was louder than the screaming match that had preceded it. I stood in the center of my own kitchen looking at my husband Mark and his sister Chloe. On the marble countertop sat a small, sleek recording device, the kind used by private investigators. It had been hidden inside a decorative vase for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of my private conversations, my phone calls with my mother, my singing to myself while I cooked, and my most intimate moments, all captured and catalogued. "It wasn't a trap, Elisa," Mark said, his voice terrifyingly calm, as if he were explaining a budget spreadsheet instead of a massive violation of my dignity. "It was a verification process. Chloe just wanted to make sure you were who you said you were before we finalized the trust fund documents for the kids. You have to understand, our family has a lot to lose." I felt a coldness spread from my chest to my fingertips. My husband of 7 years, the man who held my hand through 3 miscarriages and the birth of our twins, had let his sister test me like I was a common criminal. I wasn't a person to them anymore. I was a liability to be audited.
And while I'm getting started, don't forget to subscribe. This is where we'll find the wildest family dramas, real-life revelations, and stories you won't be able to tear yourself away from.
To understand how I got here, you have to understand who I am. I've always been the glue. My name is Elisa, and for a decade I've been the person who remembers birthdays, the one who stays up until 2 a.m. baking for the school fundraiser, and the person who buffered the jagged edges of the Sterling family's ego. I grew up with nothing, working 3 jobs to put myself through nursing school. When I met Mark, I didn't see his family's wealth. I saw a man who seemed grounded and kind. I sacrificed my career to move to his hometown and raise our children, Leo and Mia. I spent my weekends listening to his mother, Beatrice, complain about the quality of help these days, and I endured Chloe's constant passive-aggressive remarks about my quaint upbringing. I did it all because I loved Mark. I thought we were a team. I thought my loyalty had been proven in the trenches of real life. But Chloe Sterling never saw me as family. Chloe is the kind of woman who wears her inheritance like armor. She's sharp, clinical, and deeply suspicious of anyone who wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouth. She had spent years whispering in Mark's ear, planting seeds of doubt about my true intentions. The inciting incident happened on a Tuesday. It started with a text message from Chloe that seemed innocent enough. "Hey Elisa, I'm dropping off those heirloom roses for the garden. I'll just leave them in the foyer." I didn't think twice about it. But that was the day the test began. Over the next few weeks I felt a shift. Mark started asking strange, leading questions. "Do you ever wonder what your life would be like if we hadn't met?" he'd ask while we were watching TV. Or, "If something happened to the family business, would you still be happy living in a small apartment again?" I thought he was having a midlife crisis. I responded with love, with reassurance, telling him that I loved him, not the house or the cars. But then Chloe started showing up more often, always checking her phone, always glancing at that vase in the kitchen. One afternoon I was on the phone with my best friend, Sarah. I was exhausted. I vented. "Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in this family, Sarah. Mark is so distant lately and she's like a hawk. I feel like I'm being watched." I didn't know how right I was. The tension peaked during dinner last night. We were discussing the new educational trusts Mark's father had set up. Chloe looked me dead in the eye and said, "It's a shame we have to be so careful. You know how people are, they see a bank account and they see a target. Don't you agree, Elisa?" I felt a prickle of unease. "I think trust is the foundation of any family, Chloe. Without it, the money doesn't matter." She smirked. A cold, thin line. Trust is earned through transparency. The cliffhanger came an hour later. Mark had gone to the gym and I was cleaning the kitchen. I bumped the vase. It tipped but didn't break. As I straightened it, I saw it, a tiny blinking blue light nestled in the base. My heart stopped. I pulled it out. It was a high-end digital recorder. I sat on the kitchen floor for 20 minutes, staring at it. I didn't cry. I went numb. I waited for Mark to come home. When he walked through the door, I didn't say a word. I just pointed to the device on the counter. That brings us back to that moment of silence. A verification process? I whispered, my voice trembling. Mark, you've known me for 10 years. You know my soul. You let her put a bug in our home? In our sanctuary? It was just for the trust, Elisa. Mark snapped, his composure finally breaking. Chloe said you were acting secretive. You were always on the phone complaining about us. She said we needed to know if you were planning to leave and take the kids for a settlement. Complaining about you? I felt a hysterical laugh bubble up. I was complaining because you've been acting like a stranger. I was lonely. And your solution was to spy on me. Chloe stepped forward, her heels clicking on the tile. And we heard it all, Elisa. We heard you tell Sarah you felt trapped. We heard you say you missed your old life. That sounds like a woman looking for an exit strategy to me. We're just protecting the sterling legacy. I looked at her and then at Mark. He wasn't looking at me with guilt. He was looking at me with justification. He truly believed he was the victim here. The sterling legacy? I said, my voice gaining strength. Is that what you call this? Paranoia and betrayal? You didn't just test me, Mark. You failed the test. I was the one person in this world who loved you for you, not for the sterling name. And you handed the keys to our marriage to your sister so she could tear it down. The climax was a blur of motion. I walked to the hallway and grabbed my coat. Where are you going? Mark shouted. We aren't finished. Oh, we are finished, I said. I'm going to a hotel. And tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer. Not for a settlement, Mark. I don't want a dime of your legacy. It's poisoned. I want my life back. The falling action was immediate and ugly. Within an hour my phone was blowing up. Text from mother-in-law Beatrice. Elisa, don't be dramatic. Mark was just being cautious. Think of the children and the scandal this would cause. Text from Chloe. Go ahead, leave. We have the recordings of you saying you're unhappy. Good luck getting custody when we show the court you're unstable. I sat in the hotel room reading those messages. The gaslighting was breathtaking. They were trying to make me feel guilty for their betrayal. They were trying to use my own vulnerability, my private vents to a friend, as a weapon to take my children. But they forgot one thing. I was a nurse. I had spent my life dealing with crises, with blood, with the end of life. I was stronger than their spreadsheets. I didn't reply to the texts. Instead, I called my brother, who is a tech expert. Can you find out if a recording made without consent in a private residence is admissible in a custody hearing in this state? I asked. His answer was a single word: no. The next few days were a whirlwind of manipulation. Mark tried the soft approach. He sent flowers to the hotel. He left voicemails crying, saying he was pressured by Chloe and his parents. He said he'd fire Chloe from the family board if I came home. But I knew the truth now. He didn't have a backbone, he had a price. And that price was his sister's approval. The resolution came a week later. I met Mark in a public park. No recorders, no lawyers, just us. He looked terrible, but I felt remarkably clear. I'm filing for divorce, I told him. And I'm moving back to my home city. I've already contacted the hospital there. They have an opening in the ICU. You can't just take the kids, he hissed. I'm not taking them away from you, Mark. You'll have your time with them. But they will not be raised in a house where love is conditional on a verification process. They will know what trust looks like because they will see it in me. He tried one last time to guilt me. You're destroying this family over one mistake. I looked him in the eye, and for the first time I didn't feel the need to fix his pain. You destroyed this family the moment you let someone else's suspicion outweigh your own wife's devotion. You didn't just let her test me. You let her destroy the only real thing you had. As I walked away, the weight of the sterling legacy fell off my shoulders. I was no longer the glue holding together a broken, gilded cage. I was just Elisa. I was starting over with nothing, just like I had before. But this time I knew exactly what I was worth. The takeaway is simple, and it's something I tell everyone now. Never allow yourself to be audited by the people who are supposed to cherish you. Love is not a performance to be reviewed. It is a sanctuary to be protected. If they need a test to see your heart, they never deserve to hold it in the first place.